You've arrived at FND 500 Introduction to Research. This is our 5th lesson, and it's on a very important topic that's going to be of great assistance to you as you go through the research process. Today we're going to be talking about online sources, and we've already given you a little bit of this by talking to you about them from the library standpoint. And our library certainly will be available to provide you with many of the sources of information that we'll be discussing today, but also you're going to find that there's much information out there available to you directly online, and you're going to enjoy using some of these sources not just for the fulfillment of these class requirements, but also in your personal research. It's done for preparation for sermons, Sunday school lessons, other types of theological information. You're going to enjoy what you hear today and what you find out. Now, upon completing this lesson, you should be able to state some of the benefits of doing your research online. And you're also going to learn about some sources where you can go to and find this kind of information. But we want you to be careful about what information you take as fact, and so we'll talk about some critiquing principles. And together we're going to start a short research project, and we're going to work together on a particular format that I think that will help you not only in this class but in other classes as well. It's important for you to stop at this point and be sure that you've read Chapter 5 in your Weimeister textbook before going on through this tutorial. You may also have picked up on the fact that we recommended a book to you called the Extreme Searcher's Internet Handbook, a guide for serious searchers. In this particular book, you're going to find a lot of material that's not necessarily aimed at theological research, but certainly is useful to you for that purpose and for participating in group discussions like we'll be doing. For instance, the chapters are headed Basics for the Serious Searchers, Directories and Portals, Search Engines, Discussion Groups, Internet Reference Shelf, and many more. The Internet Reference Shelf is especially helpful. It provides you with money-saving sources to get general and specific information. Let's go back to a term that was defined for you in your Weimeister textbook. Research is a method of study that, through careful investigation of all evidence bearing on the definable problem, arrives at a solution. Now, that's a method of studying all information and all evidence. While we don't know that it's possible to get all of the information, we can certainly get a lot more of it today than we could 20, 30 years ago. The information age has caused an explosion of information to be made available directly to you through computers and searches online that were not available before. 20 years ago, the suggestion was that information would double every 7 years. Well, as time has gone on, that has not been true at all. Instead, now the information is doubling every few months. So there's so much out there that it's not possible really to get all of the information, but it is certainly important that we sort down through much of it so that we can get an accurate picture of what's available today. Whoops, take a moment here. You probably need a chance to have a good laugh. Sounds and looks pretty familiar, doesn't it? I love the commercials on TV right now that say, "Oh, well, whatever the internet says is right." We need to be a lot more discerning than that. No one suggests that the internet is always accurate or is the only and perfect way to do research. But it certainly does get you to more information faster. And our job is to sift through that information and make sure that it's helpful to us as we develop our papers. Now, a key place to start searching for information is with the use of a search engine. There are literally hundreds of them out there. As you know, Yahoo for a long time sort of had an edge on the market, but now Google has taken over and offers a variety of resources and services that provide us with good interactive types of information sorting as well as searching. Learning is the key to whether an information source is the right one for you. And learning about a particular topic may be a key factor in choosing even a search engine. But the bottom line is really that the more specific the search, the more focused the results. And so we're looking for that search engine or that tool that will help us go through that process and get to the information that we need. Now, even Google has some limitations. In 2009, Google uncovered only about 16% of available information on the internet. Does that surprise you? Well, even a resource as large as Google has limitations on what it wants to search and what it's able to search. And so there are other tools that may be faster or more complete or more helpful to you on specific theological topics. That's why we're going to introduce you to some of these other sources. There's also a process that you might want to be familiar with. It was invented by a man named George Boole, and George was a mathematician and philosopher. Here's one of his quotes: "To unfold the secret laws and relation of those high faculties of thought by which all beyond the merely perceptive knowledge of the world and of ourselves is attained or matured, is an object which does not stand in the need of commendation to a rational mind." Imagine going to a party with this guy. But what George Boole discovered was a process which is now called Boolean searches, or the use of Boolean operators. This process helps you to narrow a search to get specific information that you might be overwhelmed with if you were to use a broader scope topic. Now, some of the older search engines used words like and, or, not, or near. These are Boolean terms. It puts together ideas in such a way that it begins to limit the scope of what it is that you're looking for, so that you don't get 100,000 entries to wade your way through on a particular topic. For example, if you were doing a research project on veils worn by women in Israel, but you didn't want to see wedding veils, you might begin a search with women and veils and Israel, not wedding. That limits the type of search that's being done. Only pictures of women from Israel wearing veils that weren't wedding veils will be included in your search results. Now, while that system is useful and still can be used in some searches and some search engines, most search engines today use a format of Boolean logic in their advanced screen searches. And so you can save a lot of time wading through the thousands of entries the same way using Boolean information. But this provides you with the opportunity to do so from a setup screen. For instance, if you look at Google and look underneath the page designations for all the entries that are available on a particular topic, you're going to see that under that icon is a listing called Advanced Search. Here's what Advanced Search looks like if you move on to that screen. When you go to the Google Advanced Search site, you'll find Boolean logic expressed like this. There will be a line where you can put words that you want to search, combination of words. If you know the exact title, you put that in. You can go to any of these words, and so in this category, it would allow you to go to women, veils, both, and so it could be men with veils, it could be women without veils. Well, obviously that's going to get very large. So you want to take out words? Well, you go to like wedding. So now you've taken out veils that are wedding veils. You can do a numerical limitation. You can do a language or a regional limitation. And you can even designate how recent of pictures that you want. Do you want pictures within the last 5 years? Within the last 2 years? If you're doing a news search, that's especially important to you. Now, there are also certain basic reference tools for theological studies. Some of these online sites provide you with as much information as many more expensive books. For instance, and probably you're very familiar with some of these, Bible Gateway is an excellent resource which is linked to a number of different commentaries and different versions of the Bible and gets you very quickly from one passage to another and shows you related passages as well. There is also an Old Testament gateway and a New Testament gateway available. These are by different persons, not the same company, but they do provide you with good reference sources. There's also a preaching.org, and you'll probably not use it as much during this particular lesson series, but still you'll want to know that it's there. There's also one called Christian Classics Ethereal Library. Now that's pretty long and sophisticated, but what it is a reference to tools like, let's say, Pilgrim's Progress and others, and if you want to quote from one of those Christian sources, you'll be able to find a quote relatively quickly. You can also save much time if you know about a particular journal and where it is indexed. For instance, the Virtual Religion Index puts out a number of different journal indices all in one place. And so you can go there to find references to New Testament abstracts, Old Testament abstracts, some of the more popular journal information, and as well as the very serious in the religion area. Oh, but you do want to watch what you find in religious journals. Again, the more popular they are, probably the more suspicious that you need to be about the depth of the information that's provided there. Critique your authors. While a scholar might be well known, well liked, very popular on the speaker circuit for many different conventions, he or she may not necessarily be the best person to get the serious research that you need. Some are good, others are not. Many times, however, these folks don't have the reference sources that you're looking for in order to get the best information. Alright, so what are we going to do in order to choose which are those best sources? Well, in some cases, we can examine what the purpose is of the website. Perhaps it's a website designed to help church leaders, or perhaps it's a website designed to help theology professors or theology students. Perhaps it's a website to do devotional reading. If these are the cases, these are going to give you different kinds of information. Who sponsors the site? Sometimes these are sponsored by particular groups that have an agenda of their own. When was the material written? And most of the time you can go back through indices and find out exactly what the dates are for the materials that are written, and some of the search sites will only cover maybe the last 20 years, but some of them will go back all the way to the beginning of that particular source's publication. Who's the author of the materials that you're reading, and what are the author's qualifications? And I think that that's an important one. Where has the author studied, and what have they studied? How long have they devoted themselves to study? All of these are good questions to ask. Is the material available elsewhere? Are there citations that cross over from one area to another? What's the tone of the material? And does that material refer you to other places where you can find additional material? These are good ways to determine whether you're looking at a strong site or a weak site for serious research. Now we're about to start a project at this point that I think will help you to develop and grow as you plan for doing projects in future classes as well. We're going to take the topic Alexander Campbell, Early Restoration Thinker, and we're going to develop that topic and support one another as we do so. In order to do this, we're going to develop a forum. You're going to be able to go online, look at what your fellow students are posting, and then write your own sources, put in your own sources, and allow them to see what you've done as well. From this, we'll create a list of theological topics that might be considered for a paper on Alexander Campbell. He was a very prolific thinker and writer, and so you should have no trouble finding sites and finding articles at all. Now, it's likely that you've not used a forum before, and so rather than me going through the steps, I'm going to ask you to go to YouTube and paste in the site that is listed here on this particular page, and you'll be able to get a very brief presentation that has been developed by yet another college, and you'll know how to post items on the forum. Note that on these items you'll be able to put both your comments as well as to build citations and to copy and paste, and even to place entire articles as attachments into the forum, just like you would do if you were trying to add an attachment to an email. So take a few moments and do this. Once you've learned how to use a forum, you should be ready to go on to Wrap 5. In Wrap 5, we're going to do two primary things and some items that are going to help us out. First, we're going to look at some of those resources that you were exposed to earlier in this presentation. And then you're going to begin working in the forum in order to select some articles that in the next 2 or 3 weeks will become a portion of the information that you're going to refer to as you begin to write your paper on Alexander Campbell. This is a short paper, it's a term paper, it's only about 5 pages long. But as you might know, pulling together a 5-page paper filled with details and full of information can be as challenging as doing a longer paper because you want to compress and choose only the most important information for that paper. So look at your topics as defined in the RAP 5 and then begin to select some items that you would like to review. Thank you and have a great week.